Hi, this is Dr. Richard Tran, Healthy Aging Doc, and what we're going to do today is cover some of the basics. We had a patient just come to us recently, and she really wanted me to answer the question of how different organs work together in synchronicity with each other. Now, this is a pretty loaded question because it can really get into a lot of detail, but my goal in doing these types of series is to help you really understand things on more of a layman level and to help you kind of do things that are more empowering for your health. So if you have any questions, you can always email me at healthyagingdoc@gmail.com. If you have any questions about this material, we can do other segments that go into more specifics about this. But here's how it goes. When we're thinking about the body and how it actually works together, I'm actually going to take the example of digestion, okay? Because this is how you can really understand the intricacies and really appreciate how the body works. When you're thinking of digestion, it's not just one isolated thing, okay? Digestion can actually be broken down into a series of processes where the body's organs actually all have to work together as a team to make something happen. So I broke these down into 4 stages for you, okay? The first one is recognition. The second one is breakdown. The third one is to assimilate. And the fourth is to eliminate. So here's how it works. First stage is recognition. Now, whenever you eat a certain food, okay, it's not just the food that you choose, but the fact is that when you put it into your mouth, that's the first stage where digestion usually occurs, is right there. Okay? Think about it. Whenever you chew your food, you know, it's being combined together with your saliva in order to what? To recognize what you're actually eating. In fact, there are actually lingual receptors that are on your tongue that actually send messages to your brain. And from that, your brain actually recognizes what's actually going to be coming down. So then it sends it to all the vital organs and bones and muscles to tell you what's coming down, to kind of get an assessment of where this stuff is actually going to end up going to. Plus, the other thing is that the brain's also telling the stomach, as well as small intestine, all those other organs, what's going to be expected in order to digest this food properly. So that's really important there. I'm going to get into that a little bit later. The second stage has to do with breakdown, okay? And the main organs that are involved with that are your mouth. We said before, it's recognizing that, but it's also contributing to the breakdown of starches that they call amylase. It's also, the other organ is your stomach and your pancreas, okay? Now, a lot of the breakdown occurs within your stomach because it settles there. There's hydrochloric acid that's built up in your stomach in order to break down that food properly, okay? And sometimes, you know, this whole thing with gastric bypass, I don't know if that's necessarily the best solution because we're bypassing the stomach completely and disacknowledging that digestive process. At the same time, your stomach is also working in conjunction with your pancreas, which makes a lot of these enzymes to break down the foods that you make. It makes amylase for the starches, makes lipase to break down fats, and protease for the proteins. All those things combine together in order for that food to be broken down enough where it can actually be absorbed by the body. And that's the third stage, which is assimilation. You see, it's not so much what you eat. It is, well, let's just say, it is a matter of what you eat, but it's more importantly what you assimilate and absorb. And part of that is dependent upon the small intestine. That's the main organ that's at work there in order to assimilate the food that you're already taking. But recognize this: if there's any holdups in the process of the breakdown or in the recognition, well, the things that go further down the system to be assimilated will not be assimilated properly if it's not done properly. Okay? So assimilation is really important. That's the job of the small intestine. then then all the stuff that doesn't get absorbed has to be fought off and eliminated properly. That's the job of the large intestine. Okay? So the large intestine is a place where you can actually expel some of the toxins. And there's also other organs that are at work, like your kidneys or even your liver, that are involved in that whole process. And I'm not saying that this is these organs that I'm talking about. That's not like the only stage that they actually do their things in. Okay, but we're just trying to make it simple for you. Okay, large intestine. The main thing is to eliminate. It's also there to be able to fight off infection. If, like I said before, if there's a breakdown in the process, by the time that it comes to eliminate, there's more and more toxicity building up, and that's what weakens your immune system. They say that 70 to 80% of your immune response is based on your gut function. Okay? So let me just try to go into a couple of different things to help you guys make this into something more practical. Okay? A couple of tips. One thing that you want to, as I'm talking about this, that you want to recognize is that it's important to be able to take care of your nerve system. Now, that's something that's highly overlooked in people. But remember how I was talking about that first stage of digestion when you're actually eating the food? Your brain's recognizing it. And your brain has to communicate through your nerve system to all the vital organs of your body to make sure what's actually coming down, and more importantly, to make sure that everything's assimilated and absorbed properly. Okay? So it's very critical to be able to take care of your nerve system. If you're seeing something like a chiropractor, that's always an important thing, because that's one of their primary jobs, is to make sure that the nerve integrity is actually being maintained throughout your body. And we'll go into that another time. The other thing is to chew your food. Okay? You know, you've heard about it before. You should chew your food 12, 20 times, you know. The whole thing is to eat it enough so that it's broken down properly. The more that you do here at the mouth level, the better it will be broken down at this level, okay, and throughout the rest of the body, helping you to recognize not only the food that you're taking down, but to make sure that it's assimilated. The third thing is food combining, okay. You know, in your stomach, there's a certain process that goes on where it's able to recognize the food that's actually being broken down. Certain things like proteins and carbohydrates are actually broken down at different rates. So the whole thing is that things like grain-derived carbohydrates and proteins, when they're combined together, it doesn't make for an efficient process for the body. You see, your body makes a certain amount of what's called hydrochloric acid in order to break down those types of foods, or to break down things like the proteins. But the peak of it is actually at when you're about age 20, and then it starts to go downhill. So what needs to happen is that proper food combining is especially important after age 20. Things like, if you combine something like, let's say you're eating a sandwich, you're having a carbohydrate, grain-derived carbohydrate, and protein combined together. That makes it harder for the body to be able to break down. The other thing is surf and turf. You know, those are two different types of proteins. So different proteins are actually broken down at different rates. So that's not going to work very well either, especially if you have digestive problems. Hopefully I'm moving okay for you guys. You know, one recommendation that I would make is to actually take a reading of your body. Okay. The whole process of the breakdown of the foods in order for it to be absorbed properly, you can tell where the breakdown is actually occurring by the person's symptoms. We actually have a survey that covers over something like 250 questions, where it can help us to isolate where the interference is actually coming from, what part of the digestive process is not working properly. And once you recognize what area that actually is by the person's symptoms, then you're actually able to figure out what the body actually needs, instead of taking more of a gunshot approach or trying to take some type of medication to really hide the symptoms instead of expressing the body the way it's naturally meant to. So, I would encourage you guys to, you can always give us a call. You can take the symptom survey yourself. We'd be more than happy to be able to cover it with you, to be able to see what's actually coming about. But the whole process is the same. If you are able to recognize the food that's coming down through proper chewing, you're able to supplement your body with through the organs, supplement the body with what it needs and give the organs what it needs to be able to assimilate and absorb it, and you provide a good defense in order to break it down and to eliminate it properly, then you're really on a good track. So I hope that that's really able to open up your eyes to some of these things. Please, email me at healthyagingdoc@gmail.com if you have any questions about this. Thanks for listening.